what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Uncut. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this, my second channel, which is just called Nathan Oakley, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with all the Flat Earth Debate pre-show and after-show goodness. If you'd like to support this channel, there is also a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a link to crypto and PayPal in the info box below this video. Now I'm going to pass across to the Hangout while I set up for the live show. Unfortunately, we're not joined by anybody yet, as I've only just sent out the link, but hopefully in the next few minutes we'll be joined by a few people, and then we'll get the show on the road. Oh, I tell a lie, we have actually been joined by Chocolate saying, so let's see if we can say hello. Hey, Chocolate.
Good morning.
Hello. Good to have you.
Thank you, sir.
Yep, it's good.
How are we?
Your level's right.
It's just me? Where is everybody?
It is a Sunday.
True.
Lay in on a Sunday.
Well, I know Arwen's on his way because he's wrapping up his show.
Oh, okay, cool. Starting in a couple of minutes.
Right.
Figuring out how to do a link to cryptocurrency. Somebody in the chat, I think it was Gleam, advised me to get a crypto wallet. And I thought, wow, what's the point? Until he explained that there's going to be people out there that potentially want to donate to you anonymously. And I thought, yeah, that's a good point. And he said it'll take about 30 seconds. A couple of hours later, I've got it all working. I haven't actually published the link yet, though.
Yeah, I've tried to dabble in that a little bit, but I don't know. I don't feel like I know enough about money and currency to really have that make an impact on anything. Besides, I hear Bitcoin keeps dropping, and sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. I don't know. Try to stay away from that type of shit, to be honest.
Indeed. Hey, Jose.
Indeed. No way, Jose. Morning.
Oh no, I get a hello.
Hey, I didn't see you join, Arwin. Sorry. Hey, Arwin.
Arwin.
Right, we're starting now.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal link and crypto link in the info box below this video. Most importantly though, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Chocolate Saying, Jose and Arwin. Good to have you all.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Good morning.
Hello, hello. Good morning.
Good morning. Any signs of curvature?
Nope.
Looking at you, Jose.
No.
No? Nothing? Fair enough. Any signs of axial rotation?
Well, let's see.
No ballerinas in the little. No, no toy ballerinas.
Anything, Arwen? No?
Nah, no Earth-based. So,
No Earth-based rotation. Fair enough. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
nope.
Nope.
Excellent. No.
Just an aberration.
Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
There is no distance to the sun.
I still
I
want to
say
know what
no.
the sun is. I just
Equally
want
the
to know
moon,
what
I
it
would
is
say.
first.
It's an apparition. That's what it is.
A lot of apparitions. Ooh, sun.
No, it's purely apparent. So, no proof of
absolutely.
physicality. So, definitely.
Definitely
apparition.
apparent. Any evidence that you can have a gas pressure without a container for all those people that believe in a vacuum of space?
Not without a gravity bubble.
Red Rhetoric's got rockets. That's it. He was very active yesterday talking about the vacuum of space because of rockets going to space.
Does Red Rhetoric feel that the images of rockets and him seeing it taking off from the ground proves there's a vacuum of space? Wow.
Really?
I'd like to see that presented in its full format so I can get a grip of how that actually proves there's a vacuum of space. Nevertheless, any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
No.
No.
I see this as one of the most laughable of the housekeeping questions. Like, how dare them tell us what's in the center of the Earth for real?
Yeah, I watched a show yesterday about the Kola Deep borehole, and the site that it was actually done is just a wreck now. It's just a pile of rubble, and they had a couple of tourists just taking like a crappy home video on a phone there, and as they're walking around this, you know, just like I say, a pile of rubble and debris, eventually they come across this iron cover over a borehole. Now, if you've ever seen it, my folks used to have a borehole, and they're not very wide, you know, it's only a few inches, but this hole to hell, as it's been dubbed, is just there with this just little plate welded and bolted onto the top of it with just some scrawl in what looks like, you know, cheap white paint with the number of feet that it goes down. And you're like, wow, that's it. That's the only thing that represents this, you know, decades of work. Amazing. It's tiny. You know, you see the pictures. I don't know if you've ever seen any documentaries on it, but I had no concept of the size of it because, you know, I've heard plenty about it. And you see pictures of the drill bits and they look really complex and you think they're massive, but they're not. It's like just a few inches.
That's ridiculous, yeah. And that's the most modern evidence that there is for the molten core, pretty much, eh?
Yeah, 12.5 kilometers. It's nothing.
That's nothing, yeah.
Absolutely nothing. But yet they assert there's a molten iron core. In this documentary, they were fairly open about it. They were, I say fairly open. They hinted at the fact that you're taught there's a molten iron core, but this is how far we've gone down. And you can't really avoid the subject when you're talking about the actual extent of the investigation in terms of the core. And that is it. You know, that was Journey to the Centre of the Earth in real terms. The Americans didn't even bother. You know, they gave up through lack of funding. It's supposed to be a race, like the space race.
Right.
Incredible.
Space race.
What about the presupposition of a radius to Earth? Any evidence of the R value, gentlemen?
Or no.
Negative.
Yeah, just in Rumpus' name starts with an R.
Cool, that concludes housekeeping. Let's do a few shout-outs to the
It's
chat.
the living, walking proof of the R value.
If you say so. Right, I'm going to shout out some people in chat. Them Exposed, good to see you. The Brune, nice to see you as well, new name. David Reed, thanks for being here. Anika Stone, hello. Blackwood Logic, nice to see you. Ute, good to see you. Be Rational, hello. JD. Oakley's T-shirt salesman, good to have you. What else we got? Only Sheep. I can never read it when it's all together. My dyslexia takes over. Only Sheeple can't see. Okay, good to have you. Nice to see you. Bible Exposer. I think that's Paula. Knowledge Scavenger, so much better name. Anyway, good to have you, Paula. Michael, nice to see you. Stop Lying, hello. Them Exposed, I've read you out. Ryan Q, good to see you. Mong Patrol, hello. Thunderclap, hi. Ratio perfect. Says me. Indeed, it is you. You are an individual. Joseph, nice to see you. What else we got? A Tide Pod. Boy, Nathan. Hello. Good to see you, the brain. Hello. Steve-O Devo. Another new name. Nice to see you. James Spencer. Hello. Jim Laura. Is that right? Lara? Law? However you say it. Good to have you, Jim. Nice to see you, John. Nice to see you, Rune. Nice to see you, Roger. Uneartha, hello. CGI Ranty, big shout out to you. I missed anybody? Edgy TV says what's up. Alpha de Terra Plana or Alpha, hello. Dan W, he was in the second show, after show yesterday. Good to see you. Dan W, hey, Sleeping Warrior.
Yo.
Hello.
You were late with the link today, Nathan.
Warrior.
Was I?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my bad.
Oh no, you didn't. You didn't. I only saw that you there at 13:52. I didn't realise you sent it at 12:30.
No worries. I was fiddling around with a new piece of tech though, so I've installed a new app. Although I don't actually have my iPad at the moment, it's still being repaired. It's been nearly a month. Anyway, that aside, I've got a little app that lets me put the information from the PC like it's a third screen on the iPad, or at the moment, just to trial it out, I've got my iPhone running, so I've got a third screen, because I basically run out of screen real estate. You know, I just don't have enough pixels to put all the things I use on, so often there's things covering other things, and it gets very confusing trying to find something. Whereas now I've got it all nicely laid out on 3 screens. Comes to something when you actually need 3 screens. I don't know if you remember watching tech videos when they've got 3 screens, and you're just like, that's just overkill, you don't need that. Just for games, it must be.
I guess it plugs in, it doesn't do it wirelessly.
You can do it wirelessly. AirDrop does it, but it's a tenner and it gets terrible reviews. Whereas this one runs with a wire and was free. And it got terrible reviews, but I don't know why. It works perfectly and cost me nothing, so I'm happy.
Have I missed housekeeping?
You have?
Oh.
Missed shoutouts as well.
And gravity was an aberration.
Yeah, Alvin, I think you need to look at the word aberration. I've been challenged to tell you that you might not be using it correctly in context.
Nah, I am.
The brain says, my God, aren't you using a projector? Yes, I am using a projector, but it's a 1080p projector, so it's just the same resolution as a widescreen normal PC monitor. It's not that I haven't got enough size. Size isn't the problem. It's 8 foot across, but that isn't the problem. It's literally the number of pixels on that space. So yeah, I've got a massive, great big. What you're seeing on the broadcast is actually my projection screen. So that's what I use for the main, you know, what you see is what I see on my projector. But the other 2 screens that are a bit closer are what I use to actually monitor the show, monitor OBS, monitor the desk, monitor the live feed that goes out, monitor the picture that you can see on screen right now, monitor the stuff in the background, monitor my computer itself in case it gets too hot, etc, etc, etc. There's a lot of things to monitor.
Did you get a chance to watch Roxanne's channel last night?
I didn't get a chance to do anything last night, I've got to be honest. It was a very busy evening for me, I'm sorry. Sorry, Roxanne, excellent. I didn't see it.
Her nephew knocked on the door.
I saw you on the thumbnail, though, yes. I did know that you were on there.
A nephew knocked on the door like 3-4 minutes before we were literally due to go live. And it was an unexpected call. And she basically said, right, I heard her saying it background, right, come in, sit down. You're going to have to decide, do you want to participate in this hangout I'm about to do? Or do you want to be a bystander? Because we're starting in like 3 minutes. And he went, she said, come on. So she sits in next to him. We flat smacked him live. It's his first conversation, Flat Earth, and we smacked him all over the place.
Is he young?
Yeah, he's 20, and he didn't go to bed until 6 o'clock in the morning because of it. He wanted to watch fucking everything. He wanted to watch all of the videos. He wanted to know
Oh, that sounds familiar. Shout out to Alpha de Terra Planner Alpha for the super chat. Thank you very much. That's ace.
He's going to be bleary-eyed today. He's not going to know what's hitting me. Like, because I said to him, what really, for me, the way I interpreted what was the one that clinched it was when I said to him, tell me what gravity is. And he was like, and he picked some up and he dropped it like Neil deGrasse Tyson. And I said, but how can you tell that that's not the weight of the object compared to the air it's in? And it didn't go in. And I says, okay. I says, how heavy are you? And he says, about 10 stone. I said, right, okay. I said, you stand on a set of scales, it tells you 10 stone, right? And he went, yeah. I said, if you put that set of scales at the bottom of a swimming pool and then try standing on it, I said, how heavy are you going to weigh? And he said, you wouldn't be able to do that. I said, right. I said, but you've not changed your weight, have you? And he was like, no. I said, so what have you changed? And he went, well, you're in a swimming pool. And I said, right. I said, but it's changed your weight, right? And he was like, Yeah. I said,
Hasn't
so we've
changed your
changed the
weight.
medium that you're in, but we haven't changed your weight, and now you don't weigh the same. I said, that's a bit of a problem. And he was like, I said, where does the gravity go if you can't put any weight on it? And he was like, I'm not sure. And I said, Rox, I said, ask him what happens with a helium balloon. And he looked at her, and you should have seen his face. His face just went, and he just, for me, the way I interpreted it was that was the moment that the penny dropped, and he realized that down doesn't necessarily mean down. And I was like, yes, it's worked.
Oh,
6 o'clock this morning, he crashed because he was exhausted. He kept Roxanne up all night.
You missed the two most important words in that description. So pay attention to the next two words whenever gravity comes up. It's relative density. So the pencil has a greater density than the air that it's in. So it's relative to the medium and the object itself. So the relative density of a helium balloon is less than the air, therefore it goes relative to your position up.
Yeah. But honestly, that for me, the moment when the penny dropped, it was magical because he looked at me with his jaw open and he was like, I get it. But the problem was, we wasn't expecting him to get it. We were expecting him to be like flooded by it and not really take it in because it was too much too soon. But he kept Roxanne up till 6 this morning asking all the questions. And it was glorious to watch. So if you haven't checked it from yesterday, go over to her channel. It's the first hour's worth of it. And it's just glorious. It's really, really good. Poor lad.
Very cool.
You either did one or two. You did a good deed or you damaged the life of that kid forever.
I don't see how the nature of our reality, which is, in my opinion, obvious, I don't know how that can be damaging to anybody, because this isn't siding with the people who say, what difference does it make? Because it makes a massive difference. But when you look out your window, there is literally no change. It's not like the earth has unfolded itself in your revelation that you've been lied to. It's just the words of men, and that can be erased pretty easily with time. Depending on the person is dependent on the amount of time that sinks in, first of all, and then, you have to cope with it, and then you move past it. But ultimately speaking, you go through the usual stages of loss, like with anything. And it's not a big loss, because it wasn't ever real to begin with. The earth was always flat. The fact that you've been deceived by men, so what? You'll get over it. But I don't see how that can just destroy people. And if their frustrations should be taken out on anybody, well, who do you take your frustrations out on? If you're that gutted that you no longer have your space religion to cling on to, who do you take it out on?
The system, hasn't it? The establishment that taught it to you. Because obviously we asked him, he was 20, he's just done he's finished his college, and I think he'd done A-levels or whatever it was he'd done. And I said, so what are you doing now? And he says, I'm not working yet. He said, I'm looking for a job. He said, but there's not much out there for someone like me. And I was like, right, okay. So anyway, started chatting to him, and it was just brilliant. And shout out to Alpha de Terra Planet Alpha. Nathan, family, flat earth, hugs, thank brothers and sisters, family. Because Nathan's obviously not paying attention to his 3 screens.
I paid attention. I shouted it out. You just weren't paying attention to me.
Oh, maybe we spoke over each other.
We did, but I definitely got heard.
Oh, right, okay. Well, anyway, so I just need to plug it because it was Ace. This poor kid. And then stayed up till 6 this morning with Roxanne. Oh, poor Roxanne. She's unleashed a beast.
It's a good way to be flat smacked into it, though, because if you go in sort of without some revelationary piece of information, you come into it from a sidetrack. It's easy to let the cognitive dissonance take over, just accept some pathetic explanation that's there in a side chat or in the comments, if you just come across it. Whereas if you've literally got somebody like you forcing it down their throat with very, very cogent arguments, then, it is going to be a, as you call it, a flat smack.
Yeah. So we've got True Scotsman that asks, what direction is density anyway? The answer's in your question there, mate. The answer is density. It's to do with the relative density. Come on. We've only been going on about it for months.
The direction itself is relative.
You have to put the word relative at the beginning, otherwise people don't get it. Shut up.
Yeah, those two words sum it up beautifully. Relative density. You want to drop a mic and say that it's gravity? Well, no. If that mic's made of, let's say, I don't know why it wouldn't, but if you dropped a mic, there's not 100% certainty that it would float, that it would sink through water. there's a good chance that plastic would actually float. Unless it's metal. But you know what I'm saying, if it's a cheap mic, it is in my example, it's a plastic cheap mic that floats. Anyway, you know, just dropping a mic doesn't prove gravity, it proves that the relative density of the mic is greater than the air that it's passing through, that's it.
So anybody that tells you that density has a direction, that would make them a moron. Or in the Rumpus's case, a maroon.
So what did we learn today? That gravity is an aberration, but the sun is an apparition. So we got aberration versus apparition today. Boom.
Well, no, the sun is an aberration. I mean, it's not tangible, is it?
Exactly.
Do you not agree,
I mean,
Jose?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Do you not agree? It's not it's an intangible object, isn't it? The sun.
No, yeah, I agree. I agree. That's why I say it. Like, I never thought about it in that content, you know? Like, yeah, it's true. Because we don't know what it is, how far it is, what is it made of, how it behaves, anything about it. We just learn and regurgitate, pretty much.
And it's a visual-based phenomena.
Aminoko Stone says, Sleeping Warrior, stop ignoring my question. Aminoko, you have 2 subs. Come back with at least 5, and then I'll consider reading it. Hey Nathan, we were talking about the Flatty Awards. Roxanne's won one for being the best newcomer, even though she's not actually a newcomer. And she was like, "Don't know why I've won this." She said, "I've been here since 2015," and I was like, "Maybe it's just a newcomer, as in like now people realise that you're there." And maybe that's what it was referencing. But I was chatting to her offline, and I says, "I can't understand how Nathan didn't get an award." And she went, "Oh, really?" She said, "What kind of award do you think he should get?" And I was like, "Honestly?" I said, or jokingly. And she went, "Well, it could be anything jokingly, couldn't it?" And I was like, "Yeah, I suppose it could be." She said, what award do you think he should have got? And I think that Nathan should have won the most underrated flat earth content producer out there. Because I don't think you get the credit you deserve. And I think you deserve far more credit. Because at the end of the day, this is the right place to come and put these stupid ballers back in their position. There's an open link. Anybody can join. You can present any evidence you wish for the shape of the earth. And they don't join. And we all know the reason why, because they all beg R. And begging the question for R is the reason why, or one of the main reasons why I think that Nathan deserves more credit than what he gets. Yeah, he can be a grumpy bastard and he can swear a bit too much. But at the end of the day, the points that get brought up in this show are the points that everybody says. I was listening to Delby on the Imaginary Curve last night and he was having a fight over something. I missed the beginning of it. I'm not sure what the fight was over. But he was fighting with Russian Vids over something. And Russian Vids literally said the words that come out of our mouths in housekeeping came straight out of his mouth. He said, "You can't have a gas pressure without a container." And I thought, he's got that from us.
No.
Vids.
Let's give John credit, because Quantum Eraser is where I got that absolutely stunning point from. Because we were phrasing it differently. We were saying, you know, how can you have gas pressure next to a vacuum without a barrier? And it was all very convoluted. And then John really boiled it down with his argument. He's like, look, I've been saying this for 2 years, so we can't take credit for that when the source is definitely John. But ultimately speaking, you know, we've bashed it out there plenty. And I had Wakey do the same thing as well, made me really smile, because he was talking about the Ask Me Anything that Brian Cox did on Reddit. And one of his questions was exactly that, basically verbatim, a housekeeping question: how do you get gas pressure without a container? I was like, awesome, because that's what you want. You want people to parrot these. They are the best debunking of the heliocentric model there is out there. They're the most concise, and most of them are in question format, so they're not offensive in respect that you can phrase them to somebody, you know, oh right, yeah, of course we live on a globe, yeah, of course we've got pictures from space, you say, how do you have gas pressure without a container? And just by asking that question, you leave it in the hands of the person to either assume the religious belief of gravity, which there's another housekeeping question for, any scientific evidence for gravity, you know, they're all very carefully thought out, and they've been moulded over a very long period of time, you know, from about debate 77, would you say? That's when we started to figure out the first begging the question fallacy with R. That's where that all began. Yeah.
John Watson says, for fuck's sake, it's been said for years. It may have been said, right? But you have to word the question carefully so that you...
Hey, KPI, how you doing?
Oh, hello, Paul.
Paul? Is
Paul? It's Whisper, isn't it?
Is it Paul? I don't think so. It's UKPI. We can't hear you, by the way. I don't know if your mic settings are wrong.
UKPI is the guy that claimed to be the geodetic surveyor that whispered in the ear.
Nah, it's not. That's a different guy.
That was Paul J.
That's Paul. Yeah, Paul J.
Oh,
That's an
was it?
Aussie. UKPI's. I'm pretty certain he's from the UK. Maybe drop and
You're trying
rejoin
to speak.
UKPI. We can't hear you.
No, I'm sure it was UKPI.
No.
No, it's not.
Oh no, UKPI was the guy that came in and said that Miles Delia Davis smashed my 5 points, so we went back through them again and made him look silly.
Bingo.
We asked him to leave to stop himself looking like a dick.
Hello, Physics Warrior and Warren.
Hey, Nathan.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, you're right the second time. He's the guy that asserted Miles was correct and hadn't really listened to your hangout with Miles by the looks. Just paid. Oh. Flat Earth Truth. Joined and dropped. Not nefarious. We shall see. The weekend.
It reminds me about the claim that Miles has made. Is it worth recapping with the audience on that? Because it's
absolutely. I think his assuming R and telling us where things should and shouldn't be based on a begging the question, proof of nothing perspective, omitting curve calculator, and putting us in taking us out of perspective view, putting us in an orthographic view. All those good things should definitely be discussed over again.
So what's happened is Miles has made his claim that his photograph is impossible on a plane. Adam and Ranty presented something. Neil W.
Hi, Neil.
Hiya.
Sideways, Neil.
All right.
Hiya.
So Ranty and Adam Meakin presented basically the calculated angular size reduction over distance. Somebody needs to mute. And then basically what he showed was that when you rank all these different these calculations up, the effect of them is that it can't possibly be a sphere because none of the sizes were consistent. None of them. There was one that was close, but all the others were wrong. And the reason is, of course, that not only do things get smaller, but on a ball, they drop behind the curve. But the problem is, Miles's claim was that not only is it impossible on a sphere, his burden of proof was that if you can explain this, not prove it, but explain it on a flat plane. Well, what Adam's done is not explained it on a flat plane, although it kind of lends itself towards it. It's ruled that it can't be possible on a sphere. So the reality is, Miles has still got his channel up. He's bet all of his content and that he would join FE if we could demonstrate that this is possible on a plane. But what Adam's done is shown that it's not possible on a sphere. Now, that's not quite the standard that he's asked for. He's asked for us to prove how it's possible on a plane. And although Adam doesn't prove that it's possible, he does show that it's possible, but not prove. Because there's other things that go on with the atmosphere, not just the angular size over distance reduction. But the question remains: well, if he's literally shown you that your heights are too tall for it to be on a ball, then your original assertion fails, Miles. And we've demonstrated adequately with mathematical calculation, however it was applied when Sly challenged the application of it. We've demonstrated, or Adam demonstrated, that it can be done. And it's consistent with what we see because all of the values matched. But now the problem we have is that A, your content is still up there, and B, your pint's going flat because you should be on our side now because you've just demonstrated that your heliocentric spherical Earth cannot yield mountains that big. They should be much smaller because of maths. Now, maths isn't reality, even though Red's rhetoric says that maths is reality, but we can distinguish on your photo the way that it should look compared to the way that it does look by just calculating the angular size. Sure, there's refraction, there's a bit of humidity and all that to consider, but we can distinguish between the two models by maths. And unfortunately, Miles, it's demonstrated that it does not support the curvature of the Earth claim that you believe it does. So I've asked him on his channel to answer the question specifically with why it's wrong. Because at the minute, he's just turning a blind eye. He's like, la, 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 I can't hear you. Nathan's an asshole, la, la, la. And I'm saying, no, that's not fair. The challenge has been set and we've responded and you're ignoring the response and you're sending people in like Paul or Sly to argue by proxy. And I want you to address it directly, Miles. Why is it that the angular size reduction calculations do not support the sphere that you believe that you live on? And why is it wrong? Because you're going to have to explain why the maths is wrong. So we're waiting for you, Miles. It's advantage us, and we're waiting for you to respond.
Yes, thanks for that, Anthony. Succinctly put.
The Rumpus doesn't understand how perspective works. Doesn't understand a lot, Rumpus. I don't actually believe Rumpus has got a degree in physics.
Who knows? He's got a degree in obfuscation.
Yeah.
So every single piece of photography and evidence presented, the globers, the ballers have to key in the data into a model. For what reason? Put it into a model.
Say that again, Jose.
I think we live on a model.
Let's say this Miles Davis photograph or video. They have to plug it into a globe model. Is it like mandatory to plug it into a model? I mean, I guess, but I'm not sure why into a model.
Absolutely, they have to beg the question. They have
Jose,
to
did you
That's
say a model?
That's
Hang on,
absolutely
Travis,
mandatory. That's mandatory.
Right, let me just explain something that's happened in the background. When Plain Truth joined, he's removed Arwin, UKPI, Nick Freak Me,
Hey, Andrew.
Jim.
Hello, Andrew.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning. Hopefully, Arwin can rejoin on Arwinian Gravity if he's listening.
So what account remove all those people, Riley?
The Plain Truth sock account. Obviously thought it was Travis,
man.
and it wasn't. Basically, he sniped out Arwin, UKPI, Music Freak Me, Jim.
Hey, Apollo.
So apologies to everybody that got sniped. I didn't spot that it wasn't real Travis.
I don't know who's got music playing, but if you can pop yourselves on mute if you're not talking. Hey, Apollo.
Hey.
Good to have you.
Excellent. Indeed.
All right, so there's going to be someone's going to join by the name of William. Don't remove him. Well, mind you, Howin's not here now, so it'll be okay.
Hopefully, Arwin will rejoin.
Yeah, and if somebody else wanna join, I mean, and the panel will be full, just let me know and I'll drop. I want to hear the opposite view always.
Hi, Eric.
Hey, Nathan.
Yes?
You like old computers, right?
It's not that I like old computers. That's what I actually hate them, if I'm honest. My parents had a computer business when I was growing up as a kid. So my dad was a programmer and my mother sold computers. So, you know, all of us kind of hated them towards the end when they sold their business. So I grew up around that stuff.
Okay. Have you been following the team of people that is currently restoring a Apollo guidance computer to working condition so it can run some of the original code? Have you heard about that project?
I have now. No, I haven't.
Okay. So there is this collector that found an Apollo guided parts. Well, yeah, he found an Apollo guidance computer at a scrapyard, and he bought it at the auction, and it is complete. And I've actually got a video of it right now where they are showing it around, and they are powering up the power supply for the first time. So that's kind of cool.
It is cool.
Maybe
cool from a computing point of view, but less cool if you want to use it as a sort of globe proof, because we had this conversation yesterday on the after show, whereby if you've got telemetry data, even if it's 100% live, it's just data, And the same applies. So there's two kind of outcomes. If they put it together and actually find that the whole thing's a great big fraud, which we kind of know anyway, or they put it together and go, look, this is how the telemetry works, which seems more likely. And then there'll be a few people who say, well, obviously, if we've got telemetry data, that means they went right. And I'd say no, the same as having telemetry data today that's updated live doesn't actually mean a great deal.
Just from a computing standpoint.
Very interesting indeed, I'd agree, because it's ancient.
Yeah.
Is it reel
Just
to reel? How's it storing the data? Is it on reels?
The data, I don't think they have the core rope memory. So they would have to simulate the memory, but they do have all the circuits and all the circuitry. So yeah, they don't have the data. That they would need to make a core rope memory simulator. Actually, I think they do have the core rope memory, because I did see another video where somebody was reading the core rope memory from an Apollo guidance computer, but I think that was another project unrelated to this one. I'm not sure.
So it's missing the whole 10 megabytes of memory, huh? Somewhere around there, right? How many megabytes?
I don't think it'd be in the megabytes.
I'm not sure how big the program was.
I don't think it was in the gigabytes. It was in the megabytes, probably.
Yeah. No, I was going to say in the kilobytes. You know, the tiny amounts of data.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Definitely not in the gigabytes. No way.
I would say somewhere around 100 kilobytes. I don't know, but not in the megabytes. Right.
100 kilobytes. That puts it in perspective, doesn't it? Less than your average file transfer on an email.
Yeah. Sick.
Amazing. No wonder they were so slow. Push and poke memory and all that crap.
Right, we need one to drop, because we've got the guy music trying to get in. He got kicked before by the naughty Travis. If there's any placeholders that want to surrender, just drop and let what's his face come in.
I can drop now, Riley.
Cool, man.
Thank you, Physics. Much obliged.
Welcome. Dropping off now.
Right, so William, if you're paying attention now's your chance to get in. Oh.
Simon, Dan, bastard.
Yeah, I've removed him. Come on, Wilhelm. See if we can get you in.
Not actually Simon, Dan. It's just some troll, just for the clarity of the audience.
It's a bit like Michael Jackson, isn't it? You know, like Michael Jackson had like doubles that wasn't really him, so he could pretend to be in two places at once and like coin in the money. Simon Dan obviously has the same.
Okay, nice segue back into it actually being him, or you know, a doppelganger. Hey, Cindy, what?
Can you allow me?
So obviously the trolls are awake.
Said hey to that person's name, and it activated Siri.
No, it's a video loop of a child, like near a webcam. Have you not noticed it?
I didn't get to hear it. I muted as soon as he started messing around.
Go on, William, you're paying attention.
No.
Yeah,
Hi,
really
William. There you go. Good to have you. Is that a full panel?
Yes.
How's it, Nathan?
Hello, William. Good to have you.
William, you have the mic. You wanted to present something?
No, I'm not going to present that today. I first want to go through the Nathan and you guys first.
Okay, sure. I didn't quite catch what he said then. What did he say, Nathan? He wants to do what?
Well, basically, I want to discuss it first with you guys before I present it on the show, because there's a few things that I'm still looking at that I want to find a bit of clarity on.
Well, that's the purpose of the show, mate. You might as well do it now because it gives us content and it gives us something to talk about if it's interesting. Doesn't matter if you're wrong, just present it and see what the view is if you're just asking questions.
Are you a glober or a flat earther or on the fence? Or what side of the fence you sit on?
No, I'm pretty much never been on the globe side of things throughout most of my life, so I've always had questions.
Copy that. I hear you.
That's an interesting statement. So, when did you find out the Earth was flat?
No.
My position genuinely is, okay, I agree with you in the terms that the Earth is observably flat. I do not make any claim to the shape of the Earth, but what I do believe is not what they say.
Very well put.
It's a good position.
Yeah, very good position.
Sane, actually. Crickets.
So, what do you want to run by us before you actually present?
Well, I'm not going to be able to present on my phone. I'll do it tomorrow from my computer. But what I'm busy looking into is that whole Rayleigh criterion, angular resolution, and area diffraction circles.
Cool. Very cool.
I'm being minded by my dogs at the minute, so.
Yeah, I hope if it ever gets discussed and you do a presentation, it gets through to the audience that this is an effect that happens at this end, i.e. at the camera end or your eyeball end, because I often hear people talking about diffraction and they're referencing something in the picture as opposed to in the camera, and its, you know, its limitations is kind of what you're discussing when you talk about the diffraction limit, as opposed to some, I don't know, band on the horizon or whatever that may be an effect of that, but it's not actually something happening out in the distance, because when they discuss it like that, they'll then sort of interweave atmospheric effects into this, and you go, well, no, Aries diffraction is something that's occurring because of the aperture of your camera or your eye or whatever. It's the limitation that you're discussing.
Yes, and also you look at the aperture in terms. David, hold on. These guys are making noise here again. Sorry.
It's all right. Don't worry.
Do you know,
I've got David Regia next to me.
I'm having the exact same thing with my dogs, mate. Don't worry about it.
Oh wait, this is Music Freak, William?
Yeah, that's my real name. Yeah.
Oh.
I was
asking you if you're a Glover or whatever. I didn't realize it was you. My bad, bro.
Hey, no worries, Chocolate. Yeah, because also if you look at the aperture, the difference the size in the aperture, the difference the angle of the resolution. So it's quite an interesting topic in terms of what the limitations are.
Yeah, definitely. It's one of several aspects in terms of taking into account what you actually see when you take a picture of something, especially over these long distances. And there's more to it than just sticking it into a calculator with the distances and the height that you're at and then assuming a radius. There's far more to it, in fact.
Yeah, it's to me, a lot of the thing is with the whole flat Earth side of things, is I'm leaning more towards it in terms of things, but I do not hold a position on the shape of the Earth. But I do believe there's a lot that we still have to learn.
Yeah, which is a bit of a bummer because then it leads people to either, you know, look to people that have hidden information from us, or start to maybe rebel against people on the assumption that they're hiding things from us, and, you know, actually getting people to do what Math Powerland talks about, which is going out and having a damn good look. That's at the moment lacking because the general paradigm is globe, heliocentric, and beyond that, you've got the Truman Show mentality. Everything's already been discovered. We don't need to do any more exploring. We know exactly where everything is and what everything is, the only exception being space.
Yes, and even on that, I mean, I spent a lot of time looking into Nikola Tesla, in terms of his theories and what he was looking into.
Okay.
And especially, I think one of his greatest statements he makes that when you think of the stars, the sun and all these things, you think in terms of energy, sound and vibration, which was his theory on wireless electricity.
Fair enough. Gone a bit quiet because Tesla's interesting in terms of the information is all you're discussing, which is fine and dandy, and I've got no objection with any of that. But
I'm still when you brought up there's a lot things to learn. I'm actually kind of thinking. I also think there's a unlearning process that people need to go to.
Definitely.
Which I know you just say unlearning, and it just doesn't, like, nobody says that on the media or school. Like, what do you mean unlearn? Why would anybody unlearn? Well,
or maybe relearn is maybe a better term, because you're not gonna unlearn it. You're not gonna erase it from your memory, but you can relearn and restructure it in your brain.
The thought and behavior patterns, the thinking, the way we've trained to quote think. I think that we need to unlearn a lot of that.
Well, technically I disagree a bit there, because everything we learned about the globe throughout our school career taught us everything we knew that was wrong with it. Just saying.
Yeah,
that's very true.
I can see what
having
you mean.
a better understanding of how the heliocentric model works. I mean, I've often described myself as a former NASA fanboy. Meant that it was far easier to see the holes in it quicker. So I'm sure Morgile says something similar, which is understanding their nonsense is the key to unpicking their nonsense. Or I can't remember. I'm paraphrasing, but ultimately speaking, I'm certain Morgile has a similar attitude. You've got to understand the heliocentric model well to be able to explain why it doesn't work correctly or where the holes are.
Exactly.
Well, I think I'm talking about the idea that we're trained to think that, well, it's in a book, it's an academic book, has science on it, so therefore true. Like that, we got to unlearn that. Just because it's in a book doesn't mean reality. Just because there's an equation doesn't mean reality. So I mean, that needs to be unlearned. That thinking, that thought process.
Correct. Let me just address that. Red's rhetoric's famous for saying maths is reality. The problem with maths is that you only need to make one minor mistake and it changes the way you get the answer. So you get a different answer because you've made a mistake, or you believe you've done it right, but you don't know all the facts, and that can also change the outcome. So maths is rarely reality unless it actually matches and it's consistent, and it doesn't do it with the curve calculator, for example. So maths is not reality, even though people want to believe that it is. It isn't. Reality is reality, and that's why we have the reification fallacy. So shout out to the reification fallacy. I've learned that word last week.
We're talking of books not being reality. We had Neil holding up A Brief History of Time, and if you're a fan of Red Dwarf, many of the ideas have come from that book. So, the ideas of white holes and things of that nature, the Big Crunch, all those concepts come directly out of that book. So the producer of the show read it, and then you end up with it being televised to the masses by the millions. And, admittedly, many of the Americans may or may not have heard of Red Dwarf. I know it did go out in the States. But it's part and parcel of most similar types of heliocentric indoctrination. You could look at anything that was similar. Star Wars is the same. Many of the concepts that you're being programmed with aren't just space. There's loads of stuff in there that they'll take directly chapter and verse from books like A Brief History of Time. They'll just lift the concept directly from it, translate it into cinematography. Now it's super easy. They just do it with CGI and there's your reality. Yeah, it's a suspension of disbelief if it's a fictional movie, but the overriding concept that they're portraying is the heliocentric model.
I was wondering if I could ask you a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah?
Yeah, go on, you've got the mic.
I was just wondering, you've obviously heard of the redshift that things are moving away because of the redshift.
Well, redshift is what you see as things move away. You're talking about the Doppler
and I was
effect.
just wondering if anybody had any thoughts on that.
Well, yeah, you're talking about
maybe what causes the redshift.
Well, redshift is caused, it's the Doppler effect. So you're talking about the wavelength becoming more elongated because it's travelling away to you, away from you, as opposed to blue shift, where the wavelength compresses as it comes towards you. So the redshift blue shift thing is just a natural determination based on the Doppler effect of what light is doing. So extending out, it's getting red, the wavelength shifts to red because it's getting further and further away. I mean, the implications as far as it's portrayed to us is that we are at the centre of everything in terms of what it seems. You can see out when you look out into the expanses of the black that we call space currently in the heliocentric doctrine that we're all familiar with. So they say that it's the expansion of the universe to the edge of the limits, and where you can see those limits where the microwave background radiation is, you know, that's the limits and we're at the centre. That's the implication as far as they portray to us now, but that implies a geocentric world at the very least. Geocentric meaning, you know, circle at the centre of everything, not necessarily flat geocentric. That's, anyway, that aside.
You know, the only way to actually prove the red-blue shift is to actually know how far away something is in the first place. Otherwise, it's irrelevant.
Well, quite right, but I'm just pointing out the current narrative in terms of what it means and what it implies and what is red and blue shift, and you know how we know that things are moving away as opposed to coming towards us. That's all I'm detailing.
I got a question.
I mean, what it implies really is that something is moving away.
Indeed.
Hey, what year was that book written?
A Brief History of Time?
Yeah, the one by Stephen Hawking.
70s, 80s? I don't know. It's a good question. I'll look it up.
Because that, I think, has a very important, significant thing to think about, especially when Stephen Hawking was diagnosed with ALS, and most people that have ALS don't live past 5 years.
Most.
Nah.
There's something kind of funny about that whole situation. Is that his?
Yeah, I think he was a freaking robot or something.
So, Neil, have you got?
Yeah.
Are you on the fence? What's your position?
At the moment, I'm leaning towards, mainly because of Nathan, I would say. I want to thank Nathan for helping us along on this journey a little bit, and he makes me understand a lot that I don't. So I want to thank you, Nathan, for that, and all the panelists.
So does that mean
what? I wasn't paying attention. I was looking at Brief History of Time. 88 was published. Was published. What are you thanking me for?
Just for creating this show, and I've learned a lot from you.
Oh, my pleasure. Anytime.
Yeah, I'll watch your show religiously, and I've learned a hell of a lot. And
well, I really appreciate the support. If it wasn't for the audience, there wouldn't be a show.
What I was going to ask was, have you done any of your own observations to test it for yourself to see what conclusions you come to yet?
Sorry, Anthony, but you're breaking up.
Oh, was I breaking up then, guys?
Yeah, I think it's his connection, not yours. You're clear here.
Yeah, maybe turn off your screen so that we don't have to look at it.
If you turn off your camera, your bandwidth will improve. Exactly.
Hey, Neil, if you're having problems listening, maybe turn off your camera. It's probably on your end, your bandwidth.
All right, that book was written in 1988, and he was diagnosed with ALS in 1963. Kind of weird.
think that was probably the second, like, Math Powerland video that I watched. He was doing, I can't remember who he was talking to, but he was talking to a guy about Stephen Hawking's ALS, and I don't know, I can't remember exactly. It's 3.5 years ago now.
Well, I heard something about how the ALS Foundation didn't even recognize him in the organization until after a bunch of people started making a big hype about it.
Yeah, Jaren.
Yeah.
The whole argument's quite reactive. They are being watched, because I remember when me and Ranty were doing the back in the early days on the debates on Isle of Man, and literally you could 1 minute Isle of Man was not on the horizon. You had to go way into the horizon. The next time we came to it, there it was, and it matched the picture, and we were like, "What the fuck?" They literally changed it one of the days while we were working on it, so that now if you go there and put it on Google Earth, you see that it matches.
Hey, so I got a question about Sean Hufford. What's going on with this little legal battle that he was supposed to be following through with?
Oh, forget that. What's more interesting is that he was demanding that this hangout that he claims existed that I was listening to is the proof that I had this sound bleeding through my microphone. And what do you know? No evidence to produce this from this hangout. And he's been watching them all, he says. So the legal thing, it's a storm in a teacup. I don't think it's not worth either side really doing it, but I'm not really sure where he's at. But just let the record show that Sean Hufford has not produced the hangout that he claims that I was listening to in the background. So the noise could only have come from GeoStreamer's mic. And he was being fed, just like Paul, the geodetic surveyor, self-proclaimed from the other day. He was also being fed by somebody. So they're all as dishonest as each other. You got the rumpus leading it, probably.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate for Geo Deceiver that his Geo Whisperer experience has now been brought back to the surface by Paul, who was also being fed in the background. Several commenters have said, well, so what? It wasn't supposed to be a one-to-one. Does it matter? In other words, everyone recognises that he was blatantly being fed in the background, but he denied it. He said, no, I'm not doing that. And then tried to change the subject. He did it in the comments. He protested so much and asked for the recording when I put it out on a clip with the music on the background deliberately. And there he was, he got hooked immediately. How can I, basically asking for a copy of the recording whilst denying it and trying to change the subject. He's like, look, everyone recognises that this is the case now. It's gone out. People have seen it. They've time-stamped it. I didn't lead anybody to where it was in the original. I just put it out on the second channel. So there it is on the second channel. I put an advert up on the main channel so people would go and watch it. Obviously I want to promote the stuff I'm putting out there. But a couple of people just went in, found it, time-stamped it, and there you go. You can go to number 609, click on the timestamp, and immediately hear someone talking to him. It's like, okay, he's been caught red-handed, but he lied through his back teeth. He immediately shattered his credibility, just like Geo Deceiver did. So, Alex, it's a pity, but it's now come to a head again. We've just remembered. We did actually forget, because you're pretty insignificant to us. But it's hysterical to bring up the fact that Geo is being fed by Soundly in the background during a hangout with Anthony, was caught red-handed quite some time later, maybe 8 months later, and then denied it. And then, who was it? Sean Hufford steps in and tries to take the control that needs to be there to detach Geo Deceiver and Soundly from it, and says that it's a hangout that Anthony's had in the background playing. That's where we can hear Soundly. It's Anthony playing Soundly in the background. Like, that's likely. And then, before you know it, there's several people that absolutely hate all three of these characters and have gone, let's have a little look. So we have two, one of them who wanted to remain anonymous, sound engineers who actually got in touch. Whilst this is going on, Sean Hufford's going, audio guy. Fuck yeah. So two real professional sound engineers get in, go through the recording, and with a bit of spectrum analysis come to the conclusion that it could only have come through GeoStreamer's mic because of the limitation of the frequencies that are actually coming through the mic. His mic only being limited to about 7K, Anthony's Blue Yeti about 14.5K. So it could only have come through GeoStreamer's mic. He's banged to rights and he's still denying it. And then he went very quiet. Then we forgot about it, admittedly. And then hallelujah, Paul, the Aussie, comes along and does exactly the same thing. Absolutely brilliant. Timing couldn't be better. Now, no one gives a crap about Paul, funny though it may be, and banged to rights though he was, just like GeoStreamer. GeoStreamer, on the other hand, soundly Soundly, on the other hand, a lot of people like using Soundly's work. Shame about your credibility, mate. You denied it too, didn't you, you lying sack of garbage? Very funny. So where's this hangout Sean Hufford and Soundly claim is what Anthony was playing in the background then? Have you found it? No? Oh, right, you're all liars. Yeah, we know. You're all liars. It's very, very amusing.
And what you need to do, of course, is you need to hope that this thing goes away. And we've forgotten about it, basically, because there's a lot more going on than what we really need to focus on then. But when somebody then comes in and does the same thing again and they get caught red-handed, and it was called literally live on the show, it just brings it all back. And it's like, oh, hello, we've forgotten about that outstanding issue. So, yeah, Sean, about that hangout, are you now going to admit that there wasn't a hangout? Are you going to admit that it must have been Gio that was being fed and it couldn't possibly been me? And let's think about it. Why would it be me? Why would I be listening to bloody Soundly? Come on.
And with that, I'm going to say, first and foremost, a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and hopefully sharing this debate. And, of course, a massive thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible. If you join the show late, then it will get replayed on my second channel, which is Nathan Oakley, as soon as the next show finishes live. So be sure to subscribe. There's a link in the info box. And I'll publish the link during the second show, so you can go straight to it once that one finishes. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!